So I was helping out my parents put up all the Christmas decorations yesterday, which is something I haven't done in 10 years, which is kind of strange. So I was having a lot of nostalgia moments, and I left my parents' house with a feeling that I can only describe as feeling Christmassy. I think that's an adjective or something. That's the word, adjective. I was feeling Christmassy. I was feeling nostalgic and joyful, and I recalled a lot of childhood memories as I was putting up decorations that, of course, I've seen since I was a little kid. I want you to, if you can for me this morning, recall those earliest memories you have of Christmas and the earliest memories you have waiting for Christmas. I can recall for myself my earliest memories. I had something, I really feel like this is a relevant feeling because it was a biblical level of hope leading up to Christmas. I was a big fan of Christmas as a kid, and as the days drew closer, I needed that Advent calendar just for sanity. Each day that we got closer, I just grew more and more intense with hope and expectation. When the Advent wreath was lit, I was excited. When we got to the pink candle, I think we did the pink candle on 4. Apparently we're supposed to do the pink candle on 3. Either way, got really excited when the pink candle was lit. And the night before Christmas, I couldn't sleep at all, really. I was up till the wee hours of the morning, and then I'd be up every hour on, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., waiting for to see if Santa had come, and then of course when I came down the stairs, there was the stockings, and my poor mother was given as a gift by my aunt these stockings. They aren't real stockings; they're gigantic. They're about like, when they're fully filled, they're like this big around and this tall. It was ridiculous. I don't even know. I mean, half the budget was spent on these stockings, right? So the stockings were there, and then I go downstairs, and there were all of these presents, and I don't know. I couldn't explain how it happened because my dad had a midnight mass service, and it was magic. So I don't know if you have comparable feelings. Not everybody likes Christmas as much as I do. I like Christmas a lot. But those earliest memories that I have, there was something far more profound going on than the presents. I think we can become very cynical as adults and feel like, there's 2 stages of sort of Christmas. There's the Christmas when we can't wait to get our toys on Christmas morning, and then there's like this cynical adult stage or something, with the cynical teenage stage in between. For me, to be perfectly honest, I feel like those earliest memories when I would come down on Christmas morning, the toys were a sign, much like in the Gospel of John, the miracles are a sign of something greater and deeper. They were a sign of something far more profound that my parents perhaps didn't fully understand, and I certainly didn't. But they were a sign of something special and magical and transcendent that happens when we make that transition from hope into the day that we were waiting for. There was something going on that could not be captured by a G.I. Joe figure or a car. Are you with me on that? I feel there was something happens when you're a little kid and it's Christmas morning, and it's difficult to explain. I want to suggest to you that feeling that we felt as children is an immense and powerful feeling, and it's a kind of feeling that God often calls us to feel as adults, and we might dismiss it. There's all these wonderful essays that have been written about people living under dictatorship. There's a great book called The Theopolitical Imagination, and essentially what this book describes is one of the most powerful things that the people in Chile had in their possession as a culture and a people under the Pinochet leadership. It was a horrible dictator, and a lot of people died, was the church. Because one of the dictatorships ruled by imagination. They convinced the people that there could only be one leader. There can only be one way to live. You might not be happy, but there's no other way. This is the only way. And the only way we can live together is if we all accept the way that the world is, which is this way, and then we'll be at peace. The only reason why you're unhappy is because you're fighting against the way that things are. And this is the way that things always will be. Calm down, relax, just produce goods and go home and have dinner. This is the only way that things will ever be. And to have the church say, actually, we can imagine another way. Every Sunday when we come to the Eucharist and everyone shares in this meal together, we're imagining another world. And as long as we can come to church and imagine the world of Jesus, you don't have power over us, because we can imagine a different world in a different way. You can't control our imaginations. The imagination that we have, the hope that we have, is profound and can overthrow forces that seem to be utterly immovable. It's the same feeling that the people of Israel felt with John the Baptist. There's some really cool and wonderful stuff that happens in this short little passage from Matthew, because a lot of people in the Christian tradition believe that John the Baptist was Elijah, and at least had the spirit of Elijah. And if you read about Elijah in the Bible, it could easily, if they were to make the story of Elijah into a movie, it would be an action movie, like with Bruce Willis and explosions. It is, John the Baptist is the kind of guy, it's not really cool to use this kind of images when we're thinking about Jesus, but Elijah and John the Baptist embodying this spirit. Elijah was this guy who's on the top of his mountain, and this king wants to arrest him, so he sends up 50 soldiers. And Elijah just sends a fireball down, and they all explode, and then they send another 50 soldiers, and then those guys explode, and then they send another 50 soldiers, and the commander's like, please don't blow us up with a giant fireball, and he says, all right. And everything is fine. And there's a sense of Elijah, he's this swashbuckling figure that goes and debates with kings and takes on armies, and there's like 100 priests of Baal, which is this sinister god, and he takes them all on, and then at the end of his life, he gets in a flaming chariot and flies up to heaven, and he doesn't die, and he gives his ministry on to Elisha, and everybody's waiting for the time when Elijah is to return on this flaming chariot that's going to herald the end times. And it's exciting and thrilling to think one day Elijah's going to come back. And the images in John are unmistakably, the way he's described is clothed in camel's hair and a leather belt around his waist, and his food was locusts and wild honey. And then he's out in the middle of the wilderness, and all these people are following him because they just find him irresistibly charismatic. And then the Pharisees and the Sadducees come, and he calls them a brood of vipers, even though they're all the great, he's right outside Jerusalem, right? These are the great temple authorities. This is all the leaders of, it's as if, some crazy priest goes off into a forest, and the Pope and the Archbishop of Canterbury come out to see him, and he calls them a brood of vipers, and he tells them that they need to get out of here, and he says they're going to be like chaff that are going to be burned with an unquenchable fire, to suggest that he's going to be like Elijah, but he's not going to be the one. There's somebody else that's going to come. It's fantastic stuff. It's really exciting. People were thrilled to be with Elijah in the wilderness. But much like the magic of Christmas morning, I think one of the most exciting things for me when I was a kid was that I didn't have an actual real list when I was at my youngest age. I didn't have a, when you get older, you get really specific, right? I want the blue one or the pink one, and I want it this brand. It has to be the brand name. I'll give you the website link. At my earliest age, I didn't have any expectations. I didn't even know that anybody knew. I didn't even know some of these things existed. The first time I got my very first sled and it had a cool little steering wheel thing, I don't even think I knew those things existed. It was something, I was hoping for something that I couldn't even imagine perfectly. And that was the same in the scriptures. Everybody was hoping for Elijah and utterly oblivious to someone like Jesus, that there could be something more profound and more liberating than a giant fireball, that there could be something more heroic than someone yelling at a bunch of Pharisees and Sadducees. There's something about Christian hope where we hope for something that is beyond our imaginations, and that's very difficult in 2013 when we're convinced that we can imagine everything perfectly. So I want us to imagine this Advent. I want us to recall those earliest moments waiting for Christmas, because I believe they are, in some respects, the closest we have come as Christians to imagining what joyful expectation feels like. I want us to hold on to that and not see that feeling as naive. It's a feeling that can make us vulnerable before God. It's a feeling that is very different from that kind of powerful cynicism that we can feel when we dismiss an entire season of hope and expectation. There's something very, very vulnerable about that childhood hope and expectation, but it is very close to God, and it has immeasurable power. Amen.